But again, they murmured. They distrusted the Lord on things. They complained because they had appetites that God wasn't fulfilling. They wanted meat. They lusted for the fish and the leeks, the flesh pots of Egypt. Oh, remember when we had that meat to eat, and all we have is this manna, this light bread. We're so sick of manna. Well, Moses, he didn't know how God was going to provide for this either, but God heard these things. He judged them. He showed them who he was over and over and over again. Every day they lived was a testimony that God was faithful. Amen. And they got right up to the edge of the promised land, on the other side of the river, if you will. Moses was able to go up into the mount and look over and see it. They were so close. Right up to, and now they're ready to go in, and they have this bright idea. Let's send some people over to see what it's like. Now it occurred to me, even though this doesn't sound like a really terrible thing on the surface, it was agreed that okay, but see, it gave opportunity to Satan here that he wouldn't have had if the people had just said, okay, we'll see what God says. We'll wait on him. We'll let him, if he wants somebody to go over, then he can decide we need to send someone over. And if he just wants us to march right in, we'll just wait and see what he says and how he wants us to do it, and we'll just go on in. But they wanted to see first, so it was allowed. And there was a representative of each one of the tribes that was chosen among the people. See, we're not going in asking an Amalekite or a Canaanite, hey, what's it like over there? They want somebody with a report that can be trusted. So they chose, and every tribe was represented. So they sent them over, and 40 days they were in the land spying it out to see what sort of things God had prepared for them. And then they came back. Well, everything was fine at first, and there was evidently some kind of an uproar. Actually, we're going to be in Numbers in the 13th chapter. It says, and Caleb stilled the people before Moses and said, let us go up at once and possess it, for we are well able to overcome it. Caleb saw the land. What did he see? He saw just what God had said was going to be there. A land flowing with milk and honey. Caleb, now he wouldn't have been so exuberant about this if two things weren't true of him. One, that he recognized that what God had said was just what was there. And two, that he was full of faith. God had given it to them, so he was ready to go in and possess it. He saw what he had looked at as belonging to him already and to the tribes of Israel. But the men that went up with him said, we be not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. They brought up an evil report of the land which they had searched unto the children of Israel, saying, the land, though through which we have gone to search it, is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof. And all the people that we saw in it are men of a great stature. And there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants. And we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. All right, now, God is testing Israel. He's testing them. Will you believe?
That's right.
Now, we want to keep these in our minds, because these things are happening to us today. We're not looking for a land of Canaan in a physical sense, and we haven't physically been wandering through a wilderness, but we have been these things. Yeah. And we are, all of us, on the verge of either receiving or not receiving the promise that was left to us. Has God given us evidences of his power? Has he not delivered us from what we could not have delivered ourselves? The enemy against us was too great and too wise. It had the control. There was no way any of us could have extricated ourselves from the world. We could not have been free. Some of us have tried for years and years by various means, but it wasn't possible. It was not possible. We were slaves in the world, slaves to the God of this world, and we had to be delivered. Now, this same God that delivered us from the power of the devil and out of the world is the same one that is giving us a promise of an inheritance.
Amen. Amen.
Now, Israel, now it's their turn to speak. Who are they going to believe, and why are they going to believe them? It says, and the people and all the congregation lifted up their voice and cried, and the people wept that night. Did they think about God, what he had said? No. They thought about those giants and the land that eateth up the people. And we're grasshoppers. We think we're grasshoppers and they think we're grasshoppers. It's impossible. We've gone all this way for nothing. And all the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron. And the whole congregation said unto them, would God that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would God we had died in this wilderness? And wherefore hath the Lord brought us unto this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and our children should be a prey? Were it not better for us to return unto Egypt? And they said to one another, let us make a captain, and let us return to Egypt. Now, brethren, it's not quite as black and white in our day, but there are people who are from among the people that were taken out of the world, who are still inciting the people of God to go back to Egypt.
That's right.
That is the subtlety of Satan. To say to people, well, you can't really live for God. You can't really be a holy people. You aren't really delivered. We'll counsel you. We'll show you how to be a good Egyptian. And you don't have to deny your appetites. You really don't have to. I mean, light bread's fine, but we need something a little more meaty than just manna all the time. We just, the voices. It might sound funny, but these are like types of the things that are contained in the things that are be offered to the people of God to cause them to fall short of actually receiving the promises of God, to apprehending them for themselves. Sister Melissa?
Let's don't forget that these weren't Egyptians that were saying this. This was brethren.
That's right.
So we have to be careful. We are told the tongue cannot be tamed. So we might unwittingly say something, that might weaken someone else's faith to enter in. And or we may catch ourselves saying, oh, I just can't do this or whatever, and even speaking it out loud, and someone else hear us, or even ourselves hear us. That's not a good thing to be saying to yourself, but the point is it was brethren. So we have to be careful, because Satan is really subtle, and he'll use that. He's always on attack on all of us, and we know that. But we have to have our guards up.
Yeah, see, the promises of God have got to be prominent. We cannot leave off of them. This is where you'll go whenever the promise that was left to us of the rest for us to enter into has been ignored or neglected in any way for any reason. Sister Barb, did you have something?
Yes, I was thinking that exact thing, because whenever you do seek a country to come, then whenever these things arise, you won't be tempted to turn back. I was thinking about Hebrews. They that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country.
Yeah.
It says,